So while I was on my way down to AutoZone to get replacement brake pads for the Prelude, my Jeep shut down. It seems to be an ignition problem because I have lights. My emergency flashers work, lights work, the radio works, the climate control works, the radiator fan works, but the engine doesn't work. The starter doesn't turn. The dash lights don't come on. It's I don't know. Tell you what, this is part of the adventure of owning old cars. Welcome to Dirt, Sweat, and Gears. We are here with my 1999 Jeep Wrangler, and we're going to talk about the dumbest thing that's happened to me in a while. To recap what happened in the introduction, I was driving my Jeep out to get car parts for my broken Prelude when my Jeep broke. Now, here's what happened. I was driving down the street, coming up to a stoplight, and I start stopping at the stoplight, and suddenly the whole thing just shuts down. I get nothing, no ignition. I can't bump start it. I'm just literally just freewheeling down the street. So I pull off to the side of the road before I cause an accident, and notice that my lights are on, my radio's still on, but I have no ignition. And so I thought, well, shit, I have no idea what this is just off the top of my head. Why don't I call for a tow truck? And while I'm waiting for the tow, think about what could go wrong. And I just so happened to have shut down right in front of an auto parts store. First thing I thought was, okay, while I'm waiting for this broken car to get towed home, why don't I see if I can get brake pads for my other broken car? And sure enough, I could. So that was one problem solved. I got brake pads for the Prelude. I had to pay money for them. Big freaking deal. It was only like $30, so it was worth it just to know that while I'm waiting to fix this broken car, I could fix my other broken car. So that kind of cleared my head a little bit. And so I'm just sitting here going, what the hell could cause the lights to be on, but the ignition to be off? And I thought, I have no idea. So I'm just sitting there and I'm checking my phone, and I'm really uncomfortable because it's a damn Jeep. Like you can't really get comfortable, especially if you're just sitting there. And suddenly after a while, I try to crank it and it starts. And I'm like, oh hell yeah! Why I'm gonna get going home before this thing shuts down again. I kind of had a thought that maybe it was the aftermarket alarm, and that some kind of relay had heated up too much or something, like it was going out, like it was on its way out. So that's kind of what I thought. And I thought with an aftermarket alarm, I really need to get it home in order to fix it. So I thought I would just, wait for the tow. But the thing starts up. So I get driving a few blocks, and suddenly it just shuts down again. But this time I'm not on a busy road, I am on a side street. So I pull over and I just decide, hell with it. I'll swing the door open all the way, and I start looking at things. And I felt something kind of brushing up on my leg. So I knew something had fallen out. And this is pretty much what I saw. The alarm for the car fell out. It fell out. It fell the fuck out. This was already, I cut this because I had to do some driving, and that was the antenna, and it was hanging down and getting in the way of the clutch. So I already cut that and threw it out because it was causing a hazard. So I checked underneath here, and this is a little bit hard to see without actually taking the car apart. We'll get into that. But the alarm was just hanging by a zip tie. There's the connector, right? There's the connector right there. And then next to it's the zip tie. It was just hanging there. So this is the dumbest thing you could ever do to your car. Not ever, but this is a pretty dumb thing. I say that with a certain caveat. And that caveat being that if you take your car to a stereo shop to install an aftermarket alarm, they're going to do it like this. They're going to put the entire system right underneath the steering wheel, right underneath the dash, where it can be accessed by anyone coming to take your car. And then from there, all they have to do is find the ignition wires, cross them, and your car starts right up. So for one, if you're going to do something like this, you need to put the brain of this thing not right there. You need to put it pretty much anywhere else in the car, because that is really obvious. Two, when you have an ignition kill on an alarm and someone comes to steal your car, this is what's going to happen. They're going to jam a screwdriver into your ignition, and they're going to try to start it. They'll see the lights come on. They'll see the radio come on. They'll hear the fan come on. They'll try to start it. See? They'll try to start it, and they'll get nothing. Then, when they get nothing from trying to start it, no starting, no starter signal, no cranking over, they're going to know this car has an aftermarket alarm. And so what are they going to do? They're going to reach their hand right underneath the dash and rip the thing out. Then they're going to hotwire it and take your car. The next reason on why this is a dumb thing to do is that if someone's going to steal your car, they're going to steal your car. And you're not going to do anything to stop them, especially if you make it very obvious that there is an aftermarket alarm system on this car. The trick is to making them think your car is a pile of garbage. And you do that, number one, by the way it looks. Well, I think I've got that covered. You know, this Jeep looks like shit. The next thing you do to deter a thief is to make them think your car runs like shit. If they get no starter signal when they turn that key, they're going to know that there's an alarm system. But if the car cranks over and doesn't start, that could be anything. That could be part of the ignition. That could be electrical. That could be fuel. That could be just a vacuum leak. That could be any number of things that is wrong with this car. So what you really want is a fuel cutoff. You want this thing to crank and crank and crank until the battery dies. And then they'll steal your battery and, probably trash your car, but they won't take it. So that's what we're going to do. First thing is we're going to remove that piece of crap. Second, I'm going to show you how to install a fuel cutoff. I'm not going to show you how I install the fuel cutoff in my car, because then I would be showing you how to take my car. But I'm going to show you how to do it to your own car so that you can convince someone trying to steal your car that it's a pile of junk. And lastly, we're going to talk about aftermarket alarms and doing it the right way. There is a right way to do this, and it's not that. So we got the alarm out. That's it there, and I've just cut the wires because I don't intend to use this again. Now, most modern cars have their own factory alarm systems, and those you don't really need to mess with because they're an integrated part of the car. I'm talking about older cars that don't come with alarms. And so, if you want an alarm added to an older car, what do? You're going to go down to a shop that sells and installs alarms. And they also do stereo work and all of that stuff. And then they do this crap. They just hack your wiring harness and just throw it on there. And here's the reason why they do that. They do that because there's a ton of room here. It's really easy, really fast to get to, and they can get your car out the door as quickly as possible so that they can get the next car in and charge the next poor schlub another $200. I mean, it was probably $200 at the time. It's probably more like $600 in today's money. But they do it because it's fast and cheap, and they don't really care about securing your car. They just want to make your money. So here's another reason why it's really awful. This is my wiring harness now. It's all hacked up. Like, it's so, and it's done, I don't know, it's not done badly, it's just hacked. And that affects the starter signal, that affects all kinds of things. And it just makes it a mess to work on if I have to do any work inside the dash. So if you're going to do this, and if you're going to do this the right way, you really don't want to be cutting it so close to the steering wheel. You want to make your cut deep inside the dashboard. So you would really want to take the entire dash out, steering wheel out, the radio out, everything, and you would want to get that brain somewhere that is really deep inside the car, like back here underneath behind the HVAC system, so that you have to take apart the car in order to get to it. That's how you do it right. But another reason why they don't do it that way is because these things die after a certain amount of time. That's actually why I haven't been using this for the past 10 years. It just stopped working. And so I didn't really need it. And there's other ways to secure the Jeep, and I've been using a lock that goes over the clutch. That's pretty good. And really the most effective way to secure your vehicle is to have full coverage insurance. But I digress. Let's get into this and try to figure out how to repair it. Once a thief knows you have an aftermarket alarm and they are able to pull it out from the dash, they're just going to cut it off right here, just like I did. You see how I just cut it off right here? And so what they're going to do, they are going to strip all of these wires and start connecting them together. And they're going to start with the two fattest ones, and they're just going to start connecting them together until they find out which combination starts the car. And then they're going to take your car. This takes all of, I don't know, a few seconds if you don't care about breaking the car. I care about breaking the car, so I've been at this for about, 5-10 minutes just trying to figure out what's what on this car. I'm not really going to get into what wires are supposed to go where because, that's really not my job here to do for you. I don't want to show you how to actually take a car. I just want to show you what a thief is going to do when you have an aftermarket alarm directly underneath the steering wheel. Don't do this. Don't ever do this. Don't let anybody do this to your car because it's worthless. It's terrible. Everybody that steals cars knows aftermarket alarms are installed right here or right there or somewhere in this general vicinity. So don't do it. The best way to keep your car secure is to have the controls, have whatever controls your car from starting or not starting, to be out of reach of the driver's seat. That is by far the best way. Because if they can sit in the driver's seat and reach the control, they will find it. And if they can find it, they will disable it. You really need to have whatever mechanism you have to deter a thief, not right there. Because that's very easy. Okay, so I've reconnected those wires for the ignition. You see this one hanging out here. This is a 12-volt hot wire coming from the battery. I'm keeping it for now. I've just put a butt connector on it and taped it off so that it doesn't contact anything and blow a fuse or something. I will find a use for that eventually. I have to take this whole dash apart, so I didn't really completely remove this thing. There's still a bunch of wires hanging out here. These go to like the siren and the hood pin and the stuff that also didn't work because the alarm died. And then there was like the valet mode thing that was on that side, and then little buttons here. I left those. I just cut the wires and said hell with it. because again, I'll completely remove it when I take the dash apart. I have to take out the entire dash in order to install a new heater core, which is a project I'm just not interested in doing right now. I have too many things on my plate, and I can drive this Jeep around no problem without a heater. But it does start and run. Here, here it is. It does start and run. Uh-oh. And that's how I know that I've reconnected everything properly. The next step is going to be to install a kill switch so that if someone does try to take this thing, it'll crank and crank and crank, and then they'll just think, oh, this thing is a piece of crap, and they'll move on. Because really, it already looks the part, so, they're just going to hopefully move on. So let's talk a little bit about ideas for routing your kill switch. A kill switch is very straightforward. It's literally just a switch in line with the circuit of either your ignition or your fuel. I prefer to use fuel because, to me, hearing a car crank over and not start is a really great way to deter a thief. Because, as I said, they're going to think this car is a piece of crap. It doesn't run. There's also, you can do both. A kill switch is, the switch itself is literally just a switch, just like this. This is not my kill switch, by the way. This is my fan switch. But it does the exact same thing. It has off and it has on. You can run the switch to another switch. You can run the switch in line with some system in the car so that you have to have multiple things on in a certain specific fashion in order to start the car. You can really get creative with this system, and I highly encourage you to get creative with your kill switch because the more complex it is, the harder it is for someone to figure it out, including yourself. So beware of that. That is the caveat, that the more steps you involve in the process for your kill switch, the harder it is to debug if something goes wrong. And again, I like to do things that are out of reach of the driver's seat. This Jeep, the mess that it is, it's pretty small in here. There isn't very much that is out of reach of the driver. So I'm probably going to do some complicated things in multiple places. And I'm not going to show any of you that part. The last thing I'm going to leave you with is figuring out where in the circuit you want to make your cut. I would suggest cutting the ground circuit so that you're not running live power. If you do want to run live power through the system, through your switch system, you might need to add a relay because if you're going to add all of that wire, you're going to take away from the power you have available to whatever it is you are switching, be it fuel or ignition or anything in the car. So I like to do ground just because it keeps it pretty straightforward. And then you want to find a place in the vehicle that makes sense. So you're going to have to take the car apart a little bit. And that's why I don't want to demonstrate this for you, because for one, I don't want to show you where it is on my car, and two, your car is likely to be different. Your preference is likely to be different. So I'm going to probably start at the end of my my location, my switch location, the device I'm shutting off, and I'm going to trace that wire through the car and find something somewhere that I'm comfortable adding the switch to. And then I'll run the switch somewhere. And I might add another switch. And I might branch it off of something else so that you have to have, something on in order to do it. There's so many ways that you can get creative with this. And you can have a lot of fun doing it too. And then you'll end up like Biff in Back to the Future, where he goes back in time and he's like, "How'd you do that? Nobody could start this car but me." Yeah, that's what you really want to do with all your cars. So without showing you where I've put my switch or how I've wired my switch, let's assume that I'm trying to take this car and I've gotten through all the various layers of security in place, including the ignition kill, the alarm, and if I've got any kind of brake or clutch lock on. Let's give this thing a try. So we've got this thing in neutral because I'm not going to push in the clutch. And oh look, it's going to start. Oh no, it's not going to start. And you know that weird behavior when it sounded like it was gonna fire? That was the motor burning off the fuel that was in the line. So now there's no fuel in the line, so it's just gonna keep cranking. So anyone trying to take this car is gonna think, oh, there's something really weird going on here with the ignition system, and hell with this. I'm just gonna go steal the battery in the catalytic converter and move on to another car. Lastly, as a bonus, I decided that since I had the Jeep in the garage, I'd turn it into a tiny little pickup truck. So I took out the seat, I removed the carpet, and I sprayed the bottom with rubberized undercoating. You see a footprint in there right now since it's dried. I underestimated just how bad this stuff smells. Hopefully it goes away after a while, but oh boy. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to have to do. Hopefully this thing outgasses enough that it won't be toxic, and then I'll be able to, I don't know, spray it with some potpourri or something. I don't know. I have a bit of an entertaining secret for you guys. I actually didn't have to do any work to install this switch. I was about to. I even bought the switch. I had all of my tools for running electrical out in the car with me, and I was just about to go find where I was going to put my switch. And then I found a kill switch. Yep. I had installed a kill switch several years ago and forgot all about it. So there you have it. I guess that means my switch was pretty well hidden because I didn't even know about it. I definitely remember having the switch now that I've seen it. Yeah, I feel pretty silly.